What if everything you've ever been taught about building your dream life has actually been inverted? What if your deepest longing isn't something out there you need to chase, but something inside you waiting to be remembered? Imagine the last time you felt as though you were doing everything right, visualizing, affirming, holding up positivity, and yet nothing shifted. That's because you were focusing on changing the outside world while your internal frequency remained unchanged. In the quantum world, that's like expecting a mirror to show a new reflection while your face stays exactly the same. You see, the universe isn't responding to what you want. It responds to who you are. And here's a truth nobody really talks about. Your current identity is shaping the reality you keep awakening into. Not your goals, not your intentions, but your state of being. In the quantum field, all versions of your life already exist. The abundant you, the confident you, the joyful you, they all live simultaneously as possibilities. And the moment you emotionally and energetically become one of those versions, the field begins to reorganize to reflect it. This isn't magic, it's coherence. It's physics. Yet most people miss this. They try to force change from the outside. They hustle. They control. They wait for proof before they allow the feeling. And in doing so, they stay anchored in the same energetic blueprint that created their current life. The truth is, you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are being. And once you truly understand this, everything changes. Because when you realize your emotions, your thoughts, your energetic signature are not byproducts of your external circumstances. They're the cause. You reclaim the power to shift timelines, collapse potentials, and call forth the reality you were meant to live. But first, a hard truth. You were conditioned to manifest from lack, to visualize from absence, to desire from the belief that you don't already have. That's why you're exhausted. That's why you've been looping in patterns that feel stuck. You're trying to receive a new life, while emotionally anchored in the old one. Quantum manifestation is not about trying harder. It's about becoming different. It's about aligning your energy with the version of you that already lives the life you desire, and then allowing reality to catch up with your new vibration. Neville Goddard taught this by saying, "Live in the end." In other words, mentally and emotionally dwell in the state of the wish fulfilled, not out of hope, but from faithful embodiment. Joe Dispenza calls this installing the neural hardware of your new identity. Abraham Hicks simply says, "You must feel it before you see it." And science backs this up. Your brain and body cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you feel gratitude for a future event, as though it already happened, you ignite new neural pathways, flood your system with the chemistry of that future, and become a vibrational match for the life you're calling in. In that moment, the field begins to take notice. The quantum field doesn't respond to wishful thinking. It responds to electromagnetic signals. Your thoughts dispatch the signal outward. Your emotions draw the experience inward. But here's the deeper truth. The field isn't linear, it's holographic, intelligent. That means your present emotional state is not simply shaping future outcomes. It's actively rewriting your relationship to the past, adjusting synchronicities in the now. When you shift, everything shifts. People, opportunities, timing, they begin to align. Not because you forced them into place, but because you became coherent. You became the version of you who belongs in that reality. And once this truth hits you, everything changes. You stop chasing signs. You become the signal. You stop seeking permission. You start embodying truth. You come to understand that the universe isn't testing you, it's mirroring you. And the mirror is always honest. So the question isn't when will it happen? The real question is, who am I being right now? Because that is what the field responds to. And that's why the power has always been within you. The biggest misunderstanding about manifestation is this. People think it's about thinking the right thoughts or repeating the perfect affirmations. But it's not intellectual, it's experiential. It's not about convincing the universe. It's about convincing your nervous system that the new reality is safe, normal, and already yours. When you truly become the version of yourself who already lives that reality, your subconscious stops resisting. Your identity begins to shift. And this is where quantum work begins, not in desire, but in being. Let's dive deeper. You've likely heard the idea of quantum superposition, that all potential realities exist simultaneously until one is observed. This isn't just theory, It's the foundation of your lived reality. Every choice you make, every emotion you habitually feel, every belief you reinforce is like selecting one of those possible realities and collapsing it into form. So when you wake up morning after morning and tell yourself, "I'm not there yet," or "something is missing," you're repeatedly collapsing the version of you that never got there. It's not your fault. We were taught to believe we must earn transformation, hustle, strive, prove ourselves worthy of something better. But the quantum model doesn't play that way. In the quantum field, worthiness isn't required. Only alignment is. And alignment begins when you stop reacting to your life as it is and start broadcasting your life as it will be, as though it already is. This is where so many people get stuck. They wait to feel abundance until the money arrives. They wait to feel love until the relationship arrives. They wait to feel worthy until the world validates them. But the field doesn't work on delay. It responds right now in real time to the signals you're sending. When you feel gratitude before the manifestation, you're no longer simply hoping, you're embodying. You're becoming the version of you that already knows it's done. And that's when the shift begins, because your body, mind, and energy field begin speaking the same language, coherence. Joe Dispenza explains this with brain-heart coherence. When your heart is open and grateful, your mind focused and intentional, your electromagnetic signature becomes stronger, more orderly, more detectable by the field. You become a lighthouse rather than a scattered signal. Neville Goddard's model of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled isn't pretending or merely imagining. It's stepping fully into the garment of your future, self so completely that reality has little choice but to mirror you. Most people don't get results not because manifestation doesn't work, but because they're sending out conflicting signals. They visualize one thing while feeling another. They recite affirmations but waver in anxiety. They hope for change but secretly fear disappointment. And the field, being neutral and intelligent, simply mirrors that confusion. This is where the most potent truth of quantum manifestation begins. You must become emotionally fluent in the reality you're calling in before it arrives. That means rehearsing gratitude as though the event has already occurred. It means celebrating victories ahead of time. It means trusting your intuition even when logic is questioning. Because once you align with the version of you who already lives the life you desire, everything else begins to shift, not because you forced it, but because you became it. This isn't about faking it. It's about installing a new version of reality deep into your body's awareness. Every day you wake up and choose to feel from the perspective of your future self. You're coding your quantum blueprint. You're imprinting new information into the field. And eventually the outer world has no choice but to respond, because it's not stronger than you. It's reacting to you. This is why the quantum model is not passive. It's participatory. You're not a victim of your past. You're a conscious creator. And the moment you stop chasing and start aligning, a remarkable transformation occurs. You don't just attract your desires. You begin to live from them. You walk differently. You speak differently. You make decisions differently, not to impress the universe, but because you finally remembered you are the universe experiencing itself as human. You're not here to beg for miracles. You're here to remember you've always been one. And this is the moment the field tilts in your favor. Not when you hope for it, not when you wish for it, but when you become the one who already has it. Imagine your life as a waveform, infinite, undetermined, full of possibility. Each thought you have, each belief you reinforce, each emotion you embody is like a measurement. And in quantum physics, a measurement changes everything. The moment something is observed, the wave collapses. It becomes particle. It becomes form. It becomes reality. This isn't metaphor, it's quantum mechanics. What exists before observation is a field of probabilities. But when you direct your attention, when you emotionally engage, you collapse the wave into a single experience. This is the quantum collapse, and it's happening all the time, with or without your awareness. So when we talk about manifestation, what we're actually talking about is the art of collapsing the correct waves, the ones aligned with the version of you who already lives the life you desire. But here's where it gets tricky. Most people collapse waves based on the past. They observe through fear, they react from trauma, they expect repetition, and so the field, ever loyal and neutral, simply responds accordingly, collapsing the same limited reality again and again. They don't intend to do this. They're not consciously choosing. But their subconscious programming is. That's why quantum manifestation isn't just about setting intentions. It's about healing perception. It's about becoming aware of what you're observing, how you're observing it, and whether that observation is born of your past or of your future. Because whatever you're emotionally invested in is the version you're collapsing. Each time you wake up and say, "It's always been this way," or "It never works out for me," you're not just making a statement, you're performing an act of quantum selection. You're telling the field which version of reality to give you. But when you interrupt that pattern, when you feel a new possibility before it arrives, when you think thoughts you've never thought before, when you feel peace in the middle of uncertainty, you create a beautiful disruption in the field, a divine interference, and that's where new timelines are born. Joe Dispenza put it simply, your personality creates your personal reality. Change your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and you change the reality you collapse into. Neville Goddard echoed this. Change your conception of yourself and your world changes automatically. Abraham Hicks says, the universe responds to your vibration, not your words or your wants, so the question becomes, who are you being when no one is watching, when you're not doing a technique, when you're alone in your thoughts? Because that backing frequency is what the field responds to. This is why repetition alone isn't enough. You can repeat affirmations, you can visualize, you can journal, but if your baseline state remains one of lack, fear, or doubt, you're still collapsing the same version of life over and over. Real manifestation happens when your default vibration shifts, when peace becomes your resting state, when joy is your foundation, when self-trust is your anchor. And that shift only happens when you step out of observing life according to the past and enter the creative act of collapsing reality based on who you are becoming. It isn't about effort, it's about coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, body aligned, you become a powerful observer. You collapse timelines faster. You receive synchronicities more often. You flow, not because you're lucky, but because you've exited the survival loop and entered the creator state. This is what Jesus meant when he said, "It is done unto you as you believe." This is what Albert Einstein referenced when he said, "The field is the sole governing agency of the particle." And this is what ancient mystics intuited long before quantum physics gave it language, that consciousness is causal, not passive. So if you want change, stop watching your life like a movie you didn't choose. Stop reacting. Stop waiting for evidence. Start collapsing. Start embodying. Start observing the new version of reality with the eyes of someone who knows it's already theirs. And as you do, the field will respond. Not later, not someday. Now. Because the wave is always waiting to collapse into the hands of the one who dares to believe. There comes that subtle yet undeniable moment when the air around you feels different. It's not that anything outside changed. It's that something inside you did. A lightness appears, a quiet clarity. It's as though your inner world takes a breath, and in that stillness a deeper intelligence begins to stir. This is where quantum manifestation truly begins, not in the outer doing, but in the unseen calibration of your inner frequency. Science shows us that what we call reality isn't fixed. It's a sea of potential. The quantum field holds all possible versions of you, and it's your state of being that chooses which one crystallizes into form. Not your to-do list, not your affirmations repeated in resistance, but the coherence between your thoughts and emotions. That coherence creates resonance. When your inner environment becomes orderly, when your nervous system is no longer on high alert, when your heart and brain sync, the signal you emit becomes precise, magnetic, powerful. The field responds not as a reward but as a mirror. It organizes itself around your energetic signature. So what changes your inner environment? Not striving, not more information, but integration. The quiet choice to no longer carry the weight of past timelines, the pressure of performance, the addiction to control. You come to recognize that trying to manipulate the outer world while your inner frequency remains unadjusted creates only more resistance. At this point, manifestation becomes less about getting and more about allowing what already exists in possibility to flow toward you. This is what Joe Dispenza means by becoming nobody, no one, no thing, nowhere in no time. You enter a space beyond identity, beyond story. And in that space, you connect with the universal intelligence that orders all things. It's not about faking a feeling or repeating a phrase. It's about becoming a match to the version of you that no longer seeks proof. You notice when doubt arises, and instead of silencing it, you lean into it with curiosity. You observe the pull toward urgency, and instead of reacting, you stay present. What if nothing is missing? What if this moment is part of the preparation? In quantum terms, your observation collapses the wave. Every time you bring attention, conscious, calm, present attention, to a possibility, you initiate the transformation from potential to lived experience. Not through force, but through focus, through coherence. Neville Goddard didn't teach wishful thinking. He taught identity alignment. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled not as a trick, but as an instruction to reside now in the frequency of your future. Abraham Hicks echoes this. The universe doesn't hear your words. It responds to how you feel. So the work is vibrational. The shift is internal. The moment you release the need to figure it all out is the moment you become receptive to what wants to emerge. Not because you gave up, but because you aligned. And when alignment is true, reality follows. There's something quietly powerful about realizing the work is already happening. Not out in some external battlefield, but in the stillness of your inner world. The world may not see it yet. There may be no fanfare, no visible proof, no scoreboard that shouts victory, but something real is shifting, something subtle and irreversible. Because the moment you choose to fully become the version of you who lives aligned with the reality you desire, something activates in the field. You begin to become. This is the essence of quantum manifestation. It's not a leap into fantasy. It's a return to coherence, a merging of thought, emotion, identity. You don't manifest because you want something. You manifest because you are something, because your state of being becomes the tuning fork that calls your future into now. And here's what nobody tells you. The process isn't loud. It isn't full of fireworks, constant validation, or proof your ego demands. It's silent. It's sacred. It's the quiet recalibration of your inner world, moment by moment, breath by breath, until the outer world finally has no choice but to reflect the truth you've anchored inside. You're not waiting. You're not asking. You're aligning. This is the code behind manifestation, not a secret ritual, not the perfect phrase, but identity. Who are you being when no one is watching? What assumptions guide your breath when you're alone with your thoughts? These aren't small questions. They are the blueprint of your field. Be, become, receive. It sounds simple, and it is, but it's also the most radical act you can take to embody a truth before the world gives you evidence. Because here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing proof is the moment the universe begins to deliver it, not as reward, not because you finally got it right, but because your frequency no longer contradicts the reality you say you want. You're not broadcasting lack. You're radiating wholeness. And when your signal is consistent, when your nervous system feels safe in the having, not just the wanting, the field responds. It must. The particles that form your physical reality are not fixed. They're waiting to respond to the dominant vibration you hold. And when that vibration states, "It's already mine," the collapse begins. You shift timelines not by chasing, but by becoming. So pause now, not to do more, but to feel deeper. Feel the version of you who already lives the life you once dreamed of. What do they sense when they rise each morning? What do they believe is possible? How do they carry themselves through challenge? And above all, what do they no longer fear? That isn't a version to reach. It's a version to remember, because it already exists in the quantum field. It's already formed. Your one task is to become coherent with it, to inhabit it with such sincerity that reality has no choice but to match your inner truth. And if you've been watching, if your heart has resonated with this message, it means one thing. You're already on the path. There's nothing missing. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're becoming. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply stop, close your eyes and whisper to yourself, "I am becoming." Not as a plea, but as a declaration, a remembering, a gentle roar from your soul that you are here now and ready to receive what has always been yours. If this message stirred something in you, If it awakened a recognition, a calm that echoes in your heart, take a moment. Let the field know. Comment below, I am becoming. Because you are, and we are witnessing it together. There is a frequency so subtle, so soft that most people never notice, not because it's hidden, but because it's quiet. It doesn't announce itself with drama or fireworks. It doesn't arrive in noise or urgency. It hums beneath the chaos, beneath the doubts, beneath the effort. It is the stillness behind every breath, the awareness beneath every thought, the consciousness behind every desire. This frequency isn't something you find, it's something you return to. You were born with it. It existed before language, before comparison, before the idea that you needed to prove yourself, to strive to attract anything. It's the essence of you, untouched, unshaken, unbothered, and it is magnetic beyond measure. When you stop trying to manifest and simply become the version of you who has already received, this frequency activates. It's the moment you no longer need to convince the universe of your worthiness. You simply are. You embody your worth with such gentle certainty that the quantum field has no option but to reorganize itself around your new identity. It responds not to your need but to your embodiment. This is the paradox. You attract most when you've stopped trying to attract. You receive most when you realize you are never lacking. You manifest effortlessly when you stop chasing and finally allow. There is a stillness inside you that's been waiting patiently, a frequency that doesn't shout. It whispers in truth. It's there in the quiet moment when you close your eyes and your body feels like home. It's the moment you decide to trust. Not because of proof, but because something in your soul remembers the way. This is the code of silent frequency. It isn't spoken. It's lived. Joe Dispenza calls this being incoherence. Neville Goddard calls it living in the end. Abraham Hicks refers to it as the art of allowing. But regardless of the words, the message remains the same. When you tune in, when you align, when you become, everything rearranges. Because the universe doesn't respond to your wants. It responds to your vibration. You don't need to yell louder. You don't need to do more. You need to be more of who you already are. The version of you that knows deep down you are a creator with the field. And that field, it's alive. It listens. It mirrors. So breathe, not as someone waiting, but as someone already living in the version of life they once only imagined. Walk through your day as the one whose energy alone can shift timelines. Speak as the one who remembers they are not separate from the stars, but made of them. Let your stillness become your strength. Let your presence be your portal. The outside world may not yet see it, but your field is already transmitting. It's already sending signals of wholeness, of clarity, of truth. And the field is listening, ready to mirror your internal frequency without a manifestation. You are not chasing, you are becoming. And because of that, everything is already shifting.